Hey guys, I'm really excited about this interview with Moriah Formica from the band Plush. Such a talented singer, songwriter, and guitarist. She's doing amazing things with her band. They've toured with Slash, Evanescence, Halestorm, Alice in Chains, Bush, Breaking Benjamin, Sevendust, and others. They've done some big festivals with bands. And we cover a lot in this interview, including her appearance on The Voice and advice from Miley Cyrus, her connection with Michael Sweet from Stryper, how Lizzy Hale helped the band find their guitarist, her common non-music interest with Slash, her thoughts on internet trolls, and much, much more. So stay right there.
Nice to meet you too. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, so Moriah, it's Formica, not Formica. I think everyone mispronounced, or some people I thought it was Formica, and then I heard you say Formica. I was like, okay. So
Yeah, it's Formica's become like a second last name to me. So I'm like, either or, it's okay. But I totally get it. It's like the countertop.
yeah, do you correct people when they mispronounce it though, and say actually it's Formica, or did?
I honestly really don't because it doesn't bother me too much. But I only tell people if they ask me.
Okay,
So,
gotcha. Cool.
yeah.
Well, so I think I know like your whole life story. I mean, you're pretty young, obviously, but I think know your whole life story. You started playing guitar at age 5 or 6. First song was Back in Black, right? Which is kind of interesting to me because like people who are younger, that's like an older person's song. So you heard that from your
Yeah.
dad?
Yeah, my dad just raised me always on like, a bunch of 80s classics, and he always had, like 80s pop-up videos going on, and even some of the 70s, stuff like he always had going. So, yeah, I just kind of was a rocker kid from day one.
Okay, so then like other stuff like because you obviously later get into like Evanescence and Paramore and stuff.
Yeah.
You just discover that on your own?
Well, my parents also loved. I remember that my parents always had this Evanescence. They had the Fallen album, always playing in the car, like on long road trips or whatever. And I fell in love with "Bring Me to Life" when I was like probably like 5, and so I had known of that song, but yeah, it wasn't until like maybe 11 or 12 that I really started getting into Evanescence.
Okay, but and you
Yeah,
started playing guitar like 5 or 6, but you didn't start singing until 9 when you tried this
yeah.
karaoke. So did you never like just sing along even to the music? Did your parents never hear you sing in the car and stuff, or?
Yeah, I really didn't. I was a really quiet kid, and I didn't really like I would sing along with, like under my breath or whatever, but I never thought of it as I was never thinking like, "Oh, I wonder if I have a good voice or not." Like it just was sort of uh I just loved music, and I liked to sing, along to it, but it was never something that came up, I guess. I guess nobody really did hear me.
Hmm. So then how did you, I mean, because you're a shy kid and you're insecure, but at age 9, you get up in front of all these people and sing karaoke. Did you just not even think about it at that point? Or how did you like psych yourself up to do that?
Yeah, I didn't really. Well, it was the thing was is my friend and I were in my room alone, just the two of us doing karaoke, and so I kind of
Oh,
had some. Yeah, so I had some confidence by then, and then I think like one of the adults came in the room real quick just to knock or something and be like, "Hey, I think the food's ready or whatever,"
mhm.
and they walked in on the karaoke going on a little bit, and um then they were like, "Yo, do you know that Mariah has a voice? Like, did you know that your daughter can sing?" And people were just like, "What? No." And I think that people expected, just like this. I don't know what people expected, to be honest. But the next thing I knew, everybody was coming into my room, and um, then I really just realized I was like, "Oh, well, okay." Because at that point, I wanted to know what it was about too. I was like, "Do I have a good voice? Like, can I sing?" So
And it was just a natural thing. Like you hadn't like
yeah,
practiced it or taken lessons at this point.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
totally. No,
So
yeah,
then,
no.
yeah. So sorry, go on.
Oh no, it's okay. It's okay. I wasn't going to say anything else.
Okay. No, so I was just saying, I was going to say, so then the next thing is that this part of the story I think is really cool is that your parents like really are supportive. And so instead of telling you like, hey, you need to get a real job and this is a hobby,
Right.
they're like, they want you to go all in. They get you like voice lessons, guitar lessons, or both, and then they
Yeah.
get you. Did you were you in School of Rock or no? That was the other members of the band.
Yeah, that was Brooke and Ashley. I believe they were
Okay.
in the School of Rock program together.
Okay.
But I went to like a similar thing. That place is called Modern Day Music near where I live in upstate New York. And that's just a really amazing place, and they have the same kind of little band programs for the kids and stuff, which is really a huge, huge pivotal point in me realizing that I wanted to be, I wanted to do this. I wanted to be in a band,
Yeah. Was it fifth and sixth grade? Was that when you first performed? Was it like an assembly or something you did, like Eye of the Tiger and stuff like that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you know everything. That's freaking awesome. Yeah. No, fifth grade, I did Eye of the Tiger for my school chorus. And it was funny because I was like, my music teacher was like, "So you play guitar?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I play guitar and I love it and whatever." And then she was like, "Well, why don't you come play? Can you play this song for me after school? Because we're doing this in chorus. I just am wondering, And I was like, "Oh, I don't know. Like, I don't feel comfortable, whatever." And my little brother Gabriel was like, he's so outspoken. He was like, "She'll do it. She can do it. I promise you." He was like, "She can do it. I promise you. Yeah, like she can learn it. She'll do it." And I'm like, "Gabe, stop, shut up." And he's like, "No, like you'll do it." And so next thing I knew, I ended up playing after school, and I gotta hand it to my little brother because he wasn't gonna let me say no. And
That's cool.
I wouldn't know what it was like to perform if it weren't for him and my music teacher in fifth grade.
So all these
Yeah,
people encouraging you and kind of pushing you a little bit
yeah,
helped it. So that was
100%.
interesting because I think when you were like 16, who was this person that told you that you're wasting your time with rock? Because you really love rock and they told you you're wasting your time. And you said that was like heartbreaking. So tell
Oh
me, who
yeah.
was that? And like, how did you move on from that? Because clearly they were wrong.
Just yeah, well, just different industry people. And because when at that point I had my cat's walking here, but at that point I had I we really wanted to make it and really just be able to make a living doing what I love and just be set and kind of, so you reach out to different people and stuff like that, or just whether it was people who used to be in the music industry that were in my life that I had known, just basically saying, yeah, I agree, your daughter's really talented, etc. But the rock thing is not going to cut it. It's not, there's no money in it anymore. No one cares about it. She's wasting her talent on it. Like it just all sorts of stuff like that, just BS. And yeah, it was really heartbreaking to hear that, at first. So yeah, but I'm really glad that I chose to stick with my guns and who I really am.
No, me too, because I love rock. I mean, there's some good pop music too, but was there a time did you
100%.
consider pop music? Did you consider going that route? I know you like Lady Gaga. I mean, I like Lady Gaga too, and so that would have been a route to go. But
yeah, I did consider it actually for a little while, probably for like a year. I actually started writing a bunch of pop songs and trying to, create a different sound. And we had all these photos ready to go and whatever. And then I was just like, you know what? No, I can't do this. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't. And I was thinking one of my big things was, I'm like, people are going to know. It's not even something it was just obvious that I'm not really a pop star. Like, I'm not a pop person. I love listening to pop, but as far as, what I do in my craft, it's just rock, really. I'm just rock and roll. That's what it is. And I don't think that there's any way to see around that. So I just came to the conclusion that it was not what was going to happen.
yeah, no, and especially because the guitar, you're such a talented guitarist too. Then because not a lot of pop singers play guitar. So then,
yeah.
Yeah, that'd be another thing.
Yeah,
So,
then it would be so weird.
right. So this is around the time that you had your solo band and your solo album Bring It On. And then it was shortly after that that you did The Voice, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Did that
I
bring
did.
that must have brought a lot of attention to did that people go back and then listen to your solo stuff after you were on The Voice?
Yeah, I got honestly, The Voice was a huge um kicks. I mean, it really was kind of like the Kickstarter for my career. And it did. It got a lot of exposure. That's the number one thing that comes out of those shows, in my opinion, at least, is like just the exposure, the sheer amount of people that get to see you, and um, and all the experiences that you get to experience. But yeah, it did bring a lot of fans to, because it's instant recognition, and a lot of people came in and started listening to my music, and the first thing that people would say is, well, I'm an 80s guy and I saw you on The Voice and I listened to your stuff, and it gives that classic feel and stuff. And that was another thing that really helped me solidify my place in rock too, was having all the, people who saw me on The Voice reach out and say, hey, I came back to listen to your other stuff. And, I just love that you keep true to yourself and that you stick with rock. And that gave me a lot of reassurance that what I was doing was the right thing.
Yeah. So at that point, had you had enough shows and concerts that you had more confidence? Because I mean, before, like, you were, you're scared to perform for the choir teacher, and now you're on national TV. I mean, even if you've done shows, that's obviously a different level. Like, you must have gotten nervous. How did you get past that?
Oh yeah, I couldn't even, like, I went out there and I was like, oh my gosh, oh no, my knees are like jello. I was like, I really hope I can stand up while I'm doing this. It was a lot of talking with my parents. My parents are a huge thing in this, obviously. I mean, it's all because of them, actually. But um, a lot of talking with my parents and reassurance from them. A lot of prayer. I prayed all the time, that I'd always be like, God, please, like, just let the air open up my lungs, let the notes and the air flow out. Because my thing is, it's, you get panicky and then you can't breathe. And so if you can't
Mhm.
breathe, then you can't sing. And so I don't really know, honestly, what got me through. I think music is it's just my happy place. And I was just like, you know what? I came to a point where I was like, I know that my physical body is going to be absolutely out of this world nervous. Um, and so I just knew that I had to somehow find a way to put that aside and just focus on what you do. Like, just do what you could do the best that you can. If you get chair turns, great. If you don't, that's all right. So I just eventually came to that point, and I think that that's how I just blacked out and I just focused on the song I was playing. I think that that's all you can do in that
Yeah,
moment because it's
you nailed
intense,
it. So right, because it was the first
Mhm.
song that you see. I never watched The Voice. The most of
Yeah.
The Voice I've seen is your clips. And so the first I think I saw was you doing Heart, and you're playing guitar and you're singing, and you nailed it. And I think was it
Thank
Miley
you.
Cyrus that was the first person to turn around, and then the other three, like,
Yes.
I feel like they all copied each other. They're all like, oh well, they're turning, so I'll turn, and you know what I mean? Like, they didn't know if to make
Right.
the
Yeah.
decision. But Miley Cyrus, like,
Yeah.
she knew talent right away, and she's like, boom, and turned around. So sometimes they don't turn around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh,
Sometimes they don't.
oh, that's
So
awkward.
yeah, I know. And so then it's adds this, it's not enough, that um you're already stressed out. You're like, oh my gosh, I to perform in front of people like Adam Levine, Jennifer Hudson, Miley Cyrus, and Blake Shelton. It's like that they're the top of the industry. So it's like
Mhm.
that's already adds so much anxiety and nerves. And then there's the added stressor of, man, I really hope I get a chair turn, because all you need is one. All you need
Oh,
is one.
really?
And that's
Okay.
all of our goal. Yeah. So all of our goals were just, let's just get one. That's all we need. Um, And so, yeah, it's a very intense thing emotionally and mentally to be
Yeah.
on those types of shows.
Yeah. So I don't,
So,
you didn't win it, right? But so then do you get some sort of constructive criticism or advice that you thought was helpful?
yeah, one of the, it goes back to kind of solidifying the whole, me being a rocker and only a rocker was, you have wardrobe there at the, on set, and, um, each contestant is assigned a stylist. And I remember one of my stylists was really trying to put me in, like, you know, just sparkly platform heels and this and that. And I'm just like, man, that's not me. It's just
Yeah.
not. And um, I came in the next day and they were like, yeah, we can just do the outfit that you wanted. And I was like, oh, okay, that's awesome. And we showed up to practice later that day, and Miley Cyrus was like, hey, I told uh, the glam team to kind of really leave you alone and just let you, pick your outfit for this round, because I really think that you're just so authentically you and that you shouldn't really be touched, and that's not your thing. And so that was a big piece of, and she's like, just don't let people tell you that, you should look like this or do that, or that you can't, you know, you can't be who you are. And that was one of those things that really helped me also solidify, okay, I'm doing the right thing. I know who I am. I'm, it's one of those things that really, piece of advice is that really helped solidify as a 16-year-old, because you're still trying to solidify who you are as a
Mm-hmm.
16-year-old. And
Yeah.
so that was a really pivotal piece of advice, and it meant a lot to me, So that was one of the biggest pieces of advice that I took with me, and that really helped me.
Yeah. Well, I think, and you got another similar piece of advice from 80s guy, John Waite. I love this piece of advice that he
Yeah.
gave you. You said this is some of the best advice you ever got. It was similar. He said, don't listen to anybody else. Do what you feel is right. And I thought
Yeah.
about that and I was like, that really is really good advice. And I think about some
It
of the
is.
things where you try to listen to other people and you do what they are trying to tell you to do, take their advice, and it usually doesn't work. Like you usually
It
know
just
deep
never works
down.
out, right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Exactly. Like I assume you're just about to say, like, deep down, like your gut really, it's nobody knows what you need more than yourself. Like, it's,
Right.
unless you're like a little child, and listen, sometimes it's, yes, mother knows best. I understand that. But it's, you know, there are some things that you just know. And I feel like your gut never lies to you. At least for me personally, I've never had a situation where my gut felt really strongly about something, and then and then it led me astray. I've never had a situation like that. So, um, and it's one of the most common things I feel like that a lot of people hear is, hey, follow your gut, because it's true.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, because I do a lot of these interviews, and I think that's a lot, especially the people that have been in the business for many, many years. A lot of the '80s guys will tell me that. They'll say things like, I wish I had just been myself and listened to my instincts and not,
Yeah.
the managers, because and so, sometimes the managers know things, but yeah, like I know, like one of the most famous examples is I don't know if you remember the band Dokken, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so Dokken was like
Love
his '80s
Dawkins.
rock group, and they were managed by these guys who went on to manage like Metallica and stuff. But they were telling the Dokken just, hey guys, like be yourselves. Like, and Dokken wanted to do these, like,
Right.
I don't know if you saw like their costumes in the '80s. I mean, you look back now and they look ridiculous. And they said later, with hindsight, that advice was good advice, just to be ourselves and not try to do these costumes and things. So yeah, I think that's awesome that
Right.
Miley Cyrus solidifies that by telling you, be yourself, be authentic. That's very cool.
Yeah. And yeah, it was a very reassuring moment for me, for sure,
Yeah.
especially
So
as a kid.
right. Yeah, she knows. She's been through it. Now, you had
Yeah.
your first solo album, Bring It On. You also had Michael Stryper, like, is on that. I think are you on his album too? How did you get
Yeah.
hooked up with him?
Yeah. So I was at about like 14 or 15. a couple of years before The Voice happened, I was, I was doing my little solo gigs, and I did a lot of solo acoustic gigs where I would just play a set for a couple hours, and just at like local bars and
Hmm.
wherever. And um there was a local venue that Michael Sweet was actually going to be playing at. He was going to do his own acoustic set, and they were looking for an opener. Um, and actually, the owner of the music school, that modern day music that I had talked about earlier, is he knew the owner. He's good friends with the owner of this place, and he was like, "Hey, I think um, I have there's this girl who's I think that she would be a good opener, and she really loves she's in that ballpark, and etc." And so I went and I played a couple songs for the owner, and she gave me the gig. She was like, "Yeah, we'd love to have you." And so um I played that gig, and ever since then Michael Sweet was just so, him and his wife Lisa kind of took me under their wing, and they just were so helpful, gave me so many opportunities, would give me a lot of, I had many other opening slots opening for Michael Sweet and Stryper, and it was just a really huge part of my introduction into the rock world, and so I'm always forever grateful to them. And yeah, so I did have him he did a solo on Bring It On, the actual song, the title track of that EP. He did the guitar solo in that, and he also did backing vocals on that. And then I did do a song on his solo album, One Sided War, called Can't Take This Life.
Very cool. And then did you
Yeah.
see? So I don't know. Do you follow like the rock news and the blabbermouth and all that stuff? Because then he said he praised your. I can't remember. I don't know if this was on The Voice where you did. I remember you, the Skid Row song. Was that on The Voice?
No, that wasn't on The Voice. I just did that. Was one of my acoustic covers that I did.
Okay.
I think I would just play, yeah, I would just play it live, and yeah. For,
So you played that and you killed it. And he
thank
said
you.
that you nailed it. You were better than the original singer, Sebastian Bach. And so Sebastian Bach sees that and he calls Michael Stryper a pussy and I'm going to beat him up and all this. Like, is that
Yeah.
weird that you're kind of in the middle of this like fight between these two like legends? Like, it must have been weird for your dad as an 80s rock fan to see that. I don't know if you saw that article, but
Yeah. Oh, I saw it, and I remember my my dad was like, "Right, you're not gonna believe this," and I'm like, "What?" And he shows me the article, and I'm like, "Get out of here! That's not happening." And I go on Facebook, and Sebastian Bach's just like trolling all the comments, being like, "Man, suck a fart from my ass," and you like, I mean, this guy he's saying everything under the sun, and
but he's
so
not mad at
yeah,
you, right? He's just mad at Michael for saying that, right?
yeah, he was mad. He was mad at Michael Sweet, but I didn't. I never. I did feel really weird, especially because I was like 15 at the time. So I was just like, "Look, man, I just am covering your song because I love your song, and people love your song,
Yeah.
and it's a it's a great song. That's all it is." And so I was just sitting here, kind of like, "All right,
Yeah, you're kind of in the
So
middle. You're like, oh, what do
yeah,
I do?
yeah, it definitely was a little awkward.
That's cool. Yeah, I just had Michael Sweet on the show, and I saw that
Oh,
article,
really?
and I was like, and I knew that I had you scheduled for Monday. I was like, oh, I'll have to ask her about this because I didn't
Yeah.
get a chance to ask Michael because we only had 30 minutes. But I thought that was really funny. I was like, oh, that must have been funny for you. It's like being in the middle
Oh,
of the
yeah.
yeah. And
It
then
is
you
super
did
funny.
yeah, you also did a cover of the Steelheart song. I had the singer of that band on my show too. But
Oh,
your
really?
version of that, "I'll Never Let You Go," that is not an easy song to sing, is it? I mean, or is it? Does that just come natural to you? Those high notes and things.
No, that was not, it is not easy. When I heard that, it was, the reason I covered that song was because during the pandemic, I started doing this thing where I would take requests from people.
Hmm.
Um, and one of the requests was that song. And when I first heard it, I'm like, okay, maybe this can be one of the ones that I don't do, because it was just so, I was like, there's no way that I was watching live videos of him doing it, and I was just like, how is this guy human? It's ridiculous. And so um I like belting is kind of my thing. I love I it's just how I sing. I and it's rock and whatever. So, but that song was very tough, and I didn't actually think I could do it when I heard it. But I worked on it a lot, and I did a lot of workouts that week, so core workouts to help get that breath support, and then I just gave it a shot, and
Oh, interesting. I didn't know. So the like doing core workouts actually helps you like sing better.
oh yeah, for sure, because
Huh.
because your diaphragm right here is really what helps get all the air out, and it's responsible for your breath control. So if you don't, if you're not using your core at all, I definitely noticed that on days where I do work out or do like some sort of core, you know, exercise, it definitely is easier on my voice for sure.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That makes sense then. So that's
Yeah.
maybe explain why some of the older gentlemen struggle with because if they aren't taking care of themselves, then it could be harder to sing, especially the high notes and such.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of people, it's like, and it also makes sense because it's like after you sing a song like that, it feels like you just did some sort of ab workout. It's
Oh, yeah.
because it's intense. There's a lot of muscles that are just, you know, so it's just super, super intense. Yeah.
Did you, and you kind of did learn that naturally, or was that through voice lessons that you really learned how to use the diaphragm and such?
That was definitely through voice lessons. I don't I because I knew that I was like, okay, now I know I can sing, but I really want to know how to use my voice. Because I had a bunch of people who were singers and who were many, many years older than me who were like, listen, if you don't know how to use your voice properly, it might not last as long as it can. You want
Mm.
to prolong the life of your voice. And so that's the reason I started taking voice lessons. And I'm really, really glad that I did, because there's a lot of things that go into play that you wouldn't necessarily think do, like just starting with how you take care of your body. And I'm not the best. I always want to be better with that, but um, there's just a lot of things that, because your body is your instrument, and so really everything, it does come into play, like what you eat, what you drink. Um, is that going to give you, like, do you have acid reflux? So then you have to watch what you eat so that you don't, that doesn't act up, because that'll erode your voice away. Like there are so many
Mm.
things that, um, that come into play that a lot of people wouldn't necessarily think have a say in your voice.
Okay. So what's your
Yeah.
vice? Are you like booze? Do you smoke? Is it just junk food, or what is your, what is the thing that you're like, oh, I got to cut that out?
I do. I mean, yeah, I do. I like my weed, and I like stuff like that. But I, just that, and you know, I would like to just, and of course, there's always junk food. That's always a thing, always.
But what's your
But
favorite
my
junk
biggest
food?
thing is hydration. That's my
Hydration.
biggest thing that I need to be better on, is hydration. Because I like a lot of things. Like, I'm obsessed with coffee. I love coffee. And that dehydrates your voice. So my biggest
Right.
thing actually that I need to work on is hydration.
Can you
Always.
drink like Gatorades and stuff? Do those like help? Like they hydrate more than water? Or is it just you should just need to drink more water?
I mean, mostly water, but I have to say that Pedialyte for me personally
Hmm.
is a big thing. I drink a lot of Pedialyte on tour. I mean, literally bottles of Pedialyte. I just sit with bottles of Pedialyte and drink them on tour. Um, but
I've heard that's a good cure for hangovers too.
oh yes, that too. It's a two for two.
Yeah, yeah, hydrates, and
Yeah,
because that's what like a lot of hangover is, I think, is dehydration, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, it is 100%.
for sure. So, so getting into Plush, your band, it's amazing. So you met Brooke. This part of the story is so cool though, because you add Ashley, and then you guys needed a guitar player, and it was actually Lizzy Hale from Halestorm that tweeted out your tweet or something. Like, so she was already following you from The Voice, or how did she know you?
I I had done a gig with Halestorm. I played a festival with them when I was like 15.
Oh wow.
Years and years ago. They came to and it was being the festival was at one of our local fairgrounds, like in not local, but close enough to where I live. And um we got on that bill, and as you know, as Moriah Formica. And um I met Halestorm there for the first time, and I had loved Halestorm for years before that too. So it was like I was absolutely starstruck. And so we had met there, and but yeah, you know, of course, my family was like, "Oh, well, you know, she loves you, and she's also a musician." I'm like, "Shut up!" You know, and all this stuff. And so I think, you know, we crossed paths then, but then I think that at some point she got a hold of she saw a video that I did of a cover of "I Am the Fire," and ever since then, she just was so supportive and so sweet and just so encouraging. Um, and so when we had when we had formed Plush, she was so um, willing to help out and to, you know, spread the word.
Okay. That's very cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
So then that's how you found the guitar player, Bella, and she was from Maine, which
yeah,
isn't too far. The rest of you are
yeah,
all in New York, right?
yeah,
Yeah. So we'll clear that up, because I think that was there's this confusion. There's another band called Plush that's from South Africa. That is not you guys. And also the name is not from Stone Temple
yeah,
Pilots. Those two things, we can clear those up. You just thought Plush, it's
yeah,
soft and cuddly, but then it's like you come out and rock, and I like it. And it's
yeah,
simple.
yeah. You know, and it's yeah, exactly. It's simple. It's very it's easy to say. It's easy to spell. It's just, you know, and it just felt right. Um, but yeah, and that's so funny because there is this misconception that people that they're like, oh, you guys are from South Africa, right? And we're like, no, no, we're not. And you know, so I thought that
Yeah,
that
how
was
does
a
that work if there's
funny
another
thing.
band? Is it because that band is defunct, so then you guys can still have the name, or?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, we haven't had any issues. I don't. I'm not. I don't know if that band is. I don't know if they're still a band. Because I think that they formed a while ago, but I
Right.
honestly don't know.
Yeah.
But
Well, as long as they haven't
but
sent a cease and desist, it's all
yeah,
good, right? Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of these songs. I was listening to it again today, just trying to figure out. I like to try to figure out what is this song is about, or who is this about. Are these all about? I know there was one or two girls that inspired some of these songs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, is
Yeah.
it like Better Off Alone, Hate, I Don't Care, and Will Not Win? Are those all about the same person, or are they about these two different people?
Well, um, Hate and Better Off Alone are about two different people.
Okay.
Um, but Will Not Win and I Don't Care. I Don't Care. Uh, Sorry. I Don't Care is about people. It's all the naysayers that were like, you know, music is not a real career. Music is not, you know, you can't do this. Oh, you got to do. I mean, always. I mean, in school, talking, you know, because in middle school, you always got to meet with the guidance counselors every semester or whatever. Just talk about, you know, what you want to do, and oh, what colleges are you looking at, and so they can push you towards college and whatever. And I would always be like, well, you know, I to be honest with you, I haven't thought of that right now. But because I'm in seventh and eighth grade, and you know, it's like seriously, and I really enjoy what I'm doing now, and I'd like to make a living out of it. And like, the way that these people would look at you when you said that, it was like, oh, that's really cute, but you know, we got to talk about realistic. And straight up, I had a guidance counselor tell me, but that's not really realistic. You know that, right? Like somebody,
Wow.
she literally said that to me. And
That's funny,
so,
yeah, because I was a guidance counselor for
yeah,
17 years, and I did that, and I always
yeah,
was supportive of anything. I had a girl tell me, she goes, "I'm going to open up a weed store." I was like, "All right, if that's what you want to do." I was like, she was 18, and
amazing.
she was like ready to do it, and I was like, if that's what your dream is, I say go for it. You know, like so that's
Yeah,
interesting that they told
you know,
you
that's
not to do
awesome
it.
though. That's
Yeah.
awesome though. I wish that, you know, like, and as I got older and through high school, um, that was my experience with a lot of the guidance counselors. You know, like my junior and senior year,
Hmm.
they were a lot of them were, you know, my guidance counselor was awesome. She was very like, she's like, you know, look, I'm just concerned about you getting through this. I'm here to help you. I'm here to, you know, talking more about, you know, how are we going to help you get through the school year and pass. You know, it
Yeah.
wasn't about, you know, she would always be like, I believe in you. If you want to do this, that's awesome, the same as you were just saying. And that's it. She was encouraging, you know. But yeah, I'll never forget that one guidance counselor that I had who said that. And it wasn't one time, it was several times. And this just overall general attitude of just being condescending if you had a certain career path in mind that didn't align with what they thought it should be. And
Hmm.
so that's kind of what I don't care is about. Um, it's just kind of like, look, I don't care. This is my life. And just because you think that I should go to college, I mean, that's fine, but don't, you know, shit on my goals and my dreams and my passions because you think it isn't realistic or whatever. You don't know if it's realistic for me or not. Everybody's different. Um, Now, I understand the need for having a sort of, you know, a realistic perspective. That's, of course, you should always have a plan B, but you should never discourage someone uh, just because of, you know, the path that they see for themselves.
Well, and
Um,
especially because you're doing it. You were doing music. I mean, I had kids that would say, like,
yeah,
I'm going to be a professional baseball player. And I said,
yeah,
okay, you're not on even the high school baseball team. So I think your chances might be a little
yeah,
slim there, but like, but you're on the Voice and stuff when you were in high school, right?
yeah,
I heard you tell
yeah,
the story so interesting. You're talking about like how you would eat lunch by yourself sometimes. You only had like one or two close friends, and you said that kids were like, "Is that the girl from The Voice eating by herself?" And you're like, "But it was
yeah,
by your choice. It wasn't like you're just kind of
yeah.
alone."
Yeah, exactly. People would, you know, people would be like, "Oh, like that's so sad," and my mom, I would tell my mom, you know, yeah, I ate lunch in the hallway today, and it was great. And Braden came. Braden is my cousin. He went to my school as well, and we're really close. And you know, sometimes he would come up and eat lunch with me. But other than that, I'm like, you know, I yeah. She's like, "Oh, that's right. That's so sad. Why?" I'm like, "It's not sad. I just don't want to be around all these loud, obnoxious kids, you know, because it's like they're at some point in the lunch, they're like, they all start clapping about crap and they all just like, they just do things that didn't make sense to me and that I didn't want to be a part of. And it was annoying to me. So I just wanted to be alone. And um, yeah, you know, I have the way that I get my peace of mind is by doing solitary activities. That's just how I am. I'm very introverted. And so, you know, it was a-okay with me to eat lunch alone.
Did were there some kids that tried to like befriend you because you were on The Voice and they wanted to be part of that or something, or wanted to bask in your
Oh
glory?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Kids that I had never met before. I mean, I made a lot of friends just because of being on The Voice. I mean, so it was yeah, a lot of people come out of the woodwork and but I didn't look at it as, oh, you know, these people are so they're all just clout chasers and this and that. Like I get it, you know, it's cool to know somebody who you know did something that's cool and it's interesting. So I get that.
Mhm.
So I you know, I became friends with a lot of the people that came up and introduced themselves, you know, and so we're like, oh, you were that girl in The Voice. That's so cool. Um, but then there were people that I just knew I was like, no, I don't, you know, I don't, I don't mess with that. I don't, you know what I mean? Like you could tell that it was just superficial and nothing else. Like
Mm.
they weren't actually interested in, you as a person, or oh, that's so cool, you know, I'm very interested in whatever. It's just kind of like that superficial, oh, I know this person, you know, remember that one time when like you dropped a penny and I picked it up for you at lunch? That was fun, right? Like, you know, just like little things like that.
Pretending like they were your best friend all along and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So there was definitely a lot of that too. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So are you guys now this first album with Plush, you wrote a lot of the songs yourself. Now the next album you guys will write more together, right? Have you started working on that one
Yeah.
yet?
We haven't started working, you know, on the album, but we are in the process of trying to get some songs together and, you know, hopefully a lot of writing too together.
Okay. What was did you already record tracks, or I don't know, I saw a picture of you guys with Tony Harnell from TNT. What was going on there? Were you doing songs with him or something?
He had just stopped by to say hi because we had played a couple gigs together in the past, and we were in Nashville and he lives in Nashville, and so we had been texting, and he was like, "Oh, you know, what studio are you at? I want to. Can I come say hi?" And I was like, "Yeah, like of course." And so he came by and just to say hi and you know, just to meet the other girls and stuff. And so yeah.
Oh, that was for the first album when you were recording the first album?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you didn't, so he didn't sing on it, or would you have like guests like that, like having Michael Sweet or Tony Harnell sing on a song or background vocals or something?
I would totally be down for that. That would be amazing. I especially now with Plush, it's like, you know, because when Michael Sweet, it's amazing, and I think it's amazing that he did that, you know, and was so gracious with his time and you know, doing backups for me on the Bring It On thing. But I was a little kid, like I didn't, I was not anywhere near where, you know, I was still growing. I was a little kid, and it shows in my writing too. And so it would be awesome to do that again with Plush, you know, now that I've found myself and, you know, a lot more, and you know, I'm an adult now, and I think it shows in my writing too. So it would be really cool to revisit that, you know,
Yeah.
on a later album.
Yeah, it's cool. All these people are like so supportive and helping you out, like Lizzy Hale and Michael Sweet and Tony Harnell. Like it's just,
it's amazing. It's restores your faith in humanity a little, because it's like, you know, it's that's also what I love about rock, is there's always that sense of community. Because it is a community, and it's everybody's just so I mean, obviously not everybody. There's people in every, you know, area, but for the most part, things have just been super supportive and just so all love, you know, just love and support from every corner.
Well, and you said it's funny, you laugh at like the trolls, like you don't, I mean, I don't know, maybe it gets you a little bit, but I heard you like joking about how somebody called you guys Chickelback or something. And
yeah. Chickelback. That was okay. So that was,
you don't sound anything like Nickelback, but it's a funny name, but it's not very accurate, I guess.
It was hilarious. I mean, that's our group. We made that our group chat name. So it's the four of us. The four of us made that our group chat name. So it's Chickelback. And it's hilarious. We saw that on, you know what it was? It was Blabbermouth. That's what makes it even more funny, is because we were sitting there. We were like, I swear to God, Blabbermouth must hire people to just say ridiculous, hilarious things, because we're just like, no, who said? Somebody was like, oh, great. Plush, more like Flush. And it's like, we hadn't even come out with a song yet. And so I'm like, no, you guys are just saying this crap to stir stuff up. But it was just hilarious, because it just was even funnier that it came from Blabbermouth, because Blabbermouth by far is like the angriest comment section. But it's also the funniest, because people just say ridiculous things like Chickelback.
Yeah,
you know?
that is funny. That's funny. A lot of the comments on, I'll have to read more on Blabbermouth, but even on like TikTok and YouTube, sometimes the comments are funnier than the actual video.
Oh my gosh, that's my first thing that I do always, is like if I'm watching a YouTube video, I'm watching it, but I'm also reading the comments as I watch it, because it's hilarious and it's so entertaining. And some of the arguments that people get in the comments too are so funny, because it's like, are you really arguing about this right now?
Right.
And it's, oh, we also had someone said, "Oh, great, Greta Van Teet." someone someone commented that on Blabbermouth as well,
That's pretty funny.
and we
Yeah,
thought
I
that
mean,
was hilarious.
because I don't think they hire people. I think it's just that people will make comments, and then the funniest stuff or the most outrageous thing will get like, the algorithm will push it to the top because the most people
Yeah,
like that comment or whatever. And at least I
right.
know that's how it
It's
work on
funny.
TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, and it's funny, It's but it's some of the stuff that people say is so ridiculous sometimes that you're like, this can't be a real person. Like this can't be, you
Right.
know what I mean? But
Yeah. The
it's
fact
so
that
funny.
sometimes people get so angry and it's like,
Yeah,
why do you care so much? Why do you take the time to make this angry
right?
comment? It's more like you're like worried about that person that made the comment more than you are
Yeah,
what they have to say.
exactly.
Yeah. That's weird.
Exactly. People will find any reason now to just, you know, be negative. People just nitpick. They just do. People nitpick. Nothing is ever good enough for everyone. And that's just a fact of it's just a simple fact of not even just being, in a band or being an artist on social media. That's just a simple fact of having social media accounts. Like people are just going to be rude sometimes. And that's how it is. And
Mhm.
sometimes it's funny how
Yeah.
rude people are. So,
To me, it seems like it's the people that are like really unhappy in their lives that take the
yeah.
time to comment and nitpick, like you said, or say something negative that's just mean, that's not even funny, that's just
Yeah.
like nasty. And you're like, why would you take the time to make that comment publicly? It's like usually
Yeah.
I think it's like something wrong with their own life. That's my
Yeah,
theory.
100%. That exactly. It says so much more about. I know that this is like a cliche, but it's because it's true, and it says so much more. I think about that person,
Mhm.
100% than it ever says about whoever they're commenting about. Because it's when you must be in a low spot to actually get some sort of satisfaction from hurting somebody or at least attempting to hurt somebody else. That is like, and yeah, it sucks when we first launched everything with Plush and whatever, some of the things that people say, especially as women, some of the things that people say are really discouraging. And it's sometimes it's just straight up depressing. It really is. But after a while, you get used to it, and then it's like, oh, and then you don't even notice it. I personally don't really read comments anymore because it was starting to really get at me because it's like you don't like you were saying, you look at these people and you're like, why would you say something like that? It's one of those things where it's disturbing to me. It was so disturbing to me to try and figure out this person sat there, typed this message, and had a moment to realize there is a person on the other side of this screen who's going to see this about themselves. You don't know what they struggle with mentally. You don't know what they've gone through in their life. You don't know what you could say that could trigger them. You don't know what you're saying about their body that could make like you don't know. And you still sat there and were like, I'm going to say this just because it gives me satisfaction to make them feel like shit about themselves. That always that always really bothered me about that. It's not necessarily even what they say. It's just the disregard for another human being that really disturbs me with stuff
Wow.
like that.
That's well said. That's some wisdom for somebody so young. That's amazing that you were able to figure that out so young.
It just is, yeah, it's just something that really has always bothered me.
No, that's
'Cause
amazing. Well, because
yeah,
everyone always asks you, I saw some interviews that you've done, and people always ask you, the struggles of being a woman in rock, but nobody ever asks you about the age thing. Because I think
yeah,
that would be a harder thing. You're on tour with all these bands who are older, not necessarily being in a male dominated field, but being in a younger person in an older person's dominated field. Like that's got to
yeah,
be a harder thing being such a
yeah,
young person around all these old rockers, basically.
yeah. Oh yeah, it's very intimidating. It can be very intimidating, but it can also be a really great thing because when you have those rockers the old rockers and the veterans of rock and roll that are just like, hey, you're doing great. keep doing this, and hey, you killed it tonight, and they just give you little bits of wisdom, and they give you encouragement, like Lizzy Hale and Amy Lee when we went on tour with them. They were, and both bands, all of the bands were just so supportive and welcoming, and you could tell that they knew that this was our first big tour, so they wanted to make us feel as welcome and as comfortable and as encouraged as possible. And that was a really good thing, and because it's true, when you are young, so young compared to a lot of these other bands, it can feel very intimidating,
Yeah,
at times.
it's harder to relate, I would think, because I just
Yeah,
remember like, when I worked in education, I was working with a lot of women, and that wasn't as big of a thing, but just more so that a lot of them were older, and they're talking about their kids and their
yeah.
grandkids, and I'm like,
Mhm.
I got nothing. I don't got kids. I don't got grandkids.
Exactly.
So yeah, those kinds of
Yeah,
things I think are more of that was more of a challenge, at least for me personally. I don't know, but
yeah.
you're touring with all these big bands now. The Alice in Chains one, you have shows still lined up with. It's Alice in Chains, Breaking Benjamin, and Bush. That's a huge concert.
Yeah.
How did you get
Oh,
on
yeah.
that one? Is it because of you? Because I know you guys did that cover of "Down in a Hole," and it's
Yeah.
amazing. It's on. People can
Thank
check it out on
you.
YouTube. It's from Sirius. I think it was on Sirius, like Octane or something. Recorded it, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was for the Octane, for
Is that
Octane.
how you got on that Alice in Chains? They saw that and they said, "We want you," or was it something totally different?
Um, I think it was through our agency that got us our shows and stuff. I honestly don't know too much about the booking of shows and gigs, but I it could have been that, but I think it was our agents got us the gigs.
Oh, okay. Because
The
you
gigs,
must have
yeah.
a great agency or management because you're doing all this stuff. You had shows like we mentioned Halestorm and Evanescence, and then you did the shows with Sevendust, Slash, and you even did a late night with Seth Meyers. I mean those are all huge things.
Yeah, no, I gotta hand it to them. I mean, management and our agency has been absolutely incredible, getting us opportunities that we never thought that we would have, honestly. At least I didn't. I never could have dreamed, and being, you know, 21 and having being able to say that your band, has had the opportunity to do all these things. It's incredible with all these bands that you grew up listening to, and that really have had an impact on you. So really, it's so incredible, and I'm so grateful to them.
Is it still
So shout out
surreal
to
when
management.
yeah, who is the management? I know your dad helps out too, right?
Yes, yes, my dad is one of our managers. Yeah, yeah, we're with Pavement Entertainment.
Pavement. Okay, I'll have to remember
Surface
that.
Management.
What
Yeah,
is it?
that's the label. The management is Surface Management, but the label is Pavement Entertainment.
Okay, I have to keep that in
Yeah,
mind because they're clearly doing a great job with you
yeah,
guys getting you on all these great gigs and great tours. And one of them, you're doing let's see, you just did these big festivals. Talk about that because you did the Rockville Festival in May, and there was like Kiss and Papa Roach and Five Finger Death Punch, and then
yeah,
you're going to be opening up for Kiss and Judas Priest again. Oops, did I freeze? In the Aftershocks Festival.
yeah, yeah. I am so excited for that. We that was a lot of fun. The Welcome to Rockville show in Daytona Beach, and it was so hot though, but it was a lot of fun. And it was crazy to say that you're playing festival with, you know, bands like you just mentioned, like Kiss and so many amazing bands that were on that festival, and to be able to do the Louder Than Life festival is we're so excited for that one as well.
Well, oh, okay, that one, and then there are also the Aftershock. So those are two separate ones then.
Yes.
Okay. Gosh, yeah. Do you like doing the big festival? What do you like best? Like a headlining club tour, like a tour with Alice in Chains, something like that level, or the giant festivals? Which one's the best?
um it's tough because there are so many. The pros and cons are so. Here's my favorite thing about festivals is are the crowds are insane. They're nuts. It's fun. They're just happy to be there. They will sit there they literally stand there all day in their sweat and the heat, and and they just have their beer and they're happy to be there, and they're like, it's hell yeah, it's all love. Um, but as far as like the headlining, being like an opening act for the headliners on a tour, I do love the aspect of, like you for the most part, I think on tours, like you have, like the dressing rooms and everything's much more organized, because it's just
Mhm.
there are just way less bands, and it's at like a set. Then there aren't all these different stages, and which stage is that band going to be on? Which stage is that going to be on? So I love the organization of, a tour like that. But I really love the energy with the festival shows.
Hmm. That's very
Yeah.
cool. Okay. Are you going to be doing more headlining shows just as Plush? Because I know that Alice in Chains tour one that I like, that looks so cool. I'm in Phoenix, and I don't think you guys are playing on the Phoenix. I think it's Thunder Pussy is the other opening
Yeah.
band. You guys, because you're splitting up the dates with some of the other bands. So would you be
Yeah.
doing a headlining tour of just Plush?
I'm not sure as of right now. I don't think we have anything lined up for that, but I really
Okay.
hope so soon. Yeah. Yeah. We're still just trying to, get out there and grow as a band, and then hopefully we can have that in the very near future.
Very cool. I look forward to that, and hopefully a new record at some point too.
Yes.
Um, are you still? I know I saw on your Instagram you do a lot of fishing. Are you still doing a lot of fishing?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm actually gonna go today. I fish almost every day. I fish
Really?
whenever I can. Yeah, fishing actually was my first passion even before music. You
Wow.
know, yeah. Oh my gosh, my dad had because my dad is very passionate about fishing too. He loves. When I was little, he would always quiz me on the different fish. Like he would be like, "What is like whenever people go to put their people go to put their kids down to bed. My dad, they might read them a story or they might do whatever. My dad would always be like, okay, he would lay there on the floor with me until I fell asleep. He'd be like, okay, what's green and has a chain link pattern on its side and has a teardrop down? And I'd be like, a pickerel. And he'd be like, that's right, Mariah. That's like, he would always quiz me on fish. And since the time I was little, I always had a fishing pole in my hands. Yeah. I love it.
Wow. That is so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. I used to go fishing when I was a kid. I always just get so bored. So you must have good patience. Fishing is a lot about patience, right?
Yeah, it's a lot about patience, but it's if you know like where the structures are and what fish you're going for and what you're using and the water, like it's some days just aren't good. Like yesterday I caught absolutely nothing.
Mm.
Um, but it's still just I get peace of mind. It's full mental clarity for me, and just I get peace of mind from it. And it's enough for me to be like, all right, well, I'm out here doing it. That means I still might catch fish,
Yeah. Do you have just
Yeah.
silence, or do you have headphones in and music, or what do you?
So whenever I go by myself, I will sometimes play music. I'll like put my phone in my back pocket and play some music.
Hmm.
Um, Sometimes I'll just be in silence. And then a lot of the time my brother will come with me and we'll talk and laugh and whatever.
Oh.
And then we'll also listen to music.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, a lot of the time.
Very cool. Well, I see your
Yeah.
cat behind you. I saw you also have snakes. I wanted to ask you, how do
Yes,
your
this is my
snakes get
little.
along with the cat? Because I would think that's not a
Um,
good pair.
well, this they don't really. I actually this one has never met the snakes. I've only had her for. She's about to turn a year, but they've never. They don't really get to interact because I'm honestly afraid of it. My boa constrictor one time that I had her out, my old cat actually walked past her and she struck at her
Oh
because
no.
all she sees is warm fur. So she's like, "Oh,
Right.
food," my snake. And so yeah, that was the last time that I ever had the snakes out around the cats or the dogs or anything. But
So
my
was
lizard
the
is
cat
is
okay
pretty
though
cool
when
with it.
the boa
Oh yeah,
constrictor?
she was
Oh,
okay. She was okay because I saw her. She looked like she. I was looking at her posture and when snakes are about to strike, they have that, it's called like an S curl, and they kind of, you know, posture up and they put their head in kind of like the shape of an S, and that's how you know they're about to strike. So I saw that and I kind of immediately pulled her back as she struck at her, so she didn't actually get to latch onto her. Thank God. But yeah, that is the last time that I make sure that they have very, very secure enclosures so that they're not able to get out, which I've also had happen. So,
Gotcha. Did you talk to, when you were on tour with Slash, did you guys bond about snakes? Because I know he's got a bunch of snakes too, right?
Yeah, we did. We talked snakes. Yeah, he was telling me about his. It was so funny because he's just like, he's like, oh, you know, he's like, for my birthday, somebody just got me a baby green anaconda, and I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, I'm like, okay, so for your birthday present, somebody just got you a baby anaconda, and that was just like cool. And it's just so funny because I'm like, that's literally the largest snake in the world is an anaconda, and that's just what you got for a birthday present.
Yeah, like where do you put that thing? You have to have a giant like, cage or something, right?
He was telling me, I think he lives at the zoo now in like Nashville or something. I think he was telling me the snake, his name is, I think it's Sam. I don't know. I can't remember 100%, but I think it's Sam. And he was telling me that he lives at the zoo now in Nashville, I think. And he's not on display or anything. He just kind of gets taken care of by, you know, you know, he said that he goes to see him whenever he's in the area and that he's doing well. So, I mean, you know, that's pretty cool. I'm like, all right, Sam the anaconda, that's awesome. But we talked
That's
snakes,
cool.
and it's so funny because it's so funny because apparently Slash also loves paleontology. Like he's very interested in dinosaurs and he knows like everything about them. And so funny because when I was little, I loved dinosaurs. I always had dinosaurs as toys. I would always get the big like 3-foot model skeletons, and I would put them together as a little kid. Like I love stuff like that. So it's funny that we both love reptiles and, you know, dinosaurs and you know, it's both play guitar. Like it's just funny. I'm like, all right, Slash, I could get down with that.
Yes.
So
have Slash guest on your next record. He guests on a lot of people's records. I bet he would do it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I found it. You know, one of the artists that I love so much is Macy Gray, and he, I love Macy Gray. And actually, it's funny because when we were on the Slash tour, I found that she had Velvet Revolver feature in one of her songs, and I was like, is this the same Velvet Revolver? Is this a different one? And I'm looking it up, and it's like, no, it's actually Velvet Revolver with Slash. So I believe it that he you know, features in a lot of people's stuff. But yeah, that guy is amazing. So humble. So he seems like such a good guy, honestly. So
yeah, no,
I'd
that's
love
very cool. It's amazing.
Work with him in the future.
Yeah, it's amazing. You're doing all these tours with amazing people, making great music. I always end each episode with a charity. Is there a charity that you want to promote here at the end? Besides, obviously, you know, we want people to buy your record and see on tour, but is there a nonprofit that you're involved with or that you'd like to promote?
Honestly, I don't have any specific charity, but I do really, you know, anything to help out animals. And anything to help out veterans. I'm really keen on, you know, so
I'll put a couple things in the show notes along with your website. It's plushrocks.net, I believe, right? Is that correct? Yes. Okay. And then of course you're on Instagram and all that stuff too. So people can follow you guys and check the website for current tour dates.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for doing this. It was a lot of fun, and I'll get this episode out soon.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. Had a lot of fun.
All right. Thanks, Moriah. See ya. Bye-bye. Thanks again to Moriah Formica and her dad/manager for helping set that interview up. Sometimes it's hard to do interviews with younger people because there isn't as much life experience. So sometimes there just isn't as much to talk about. But we ended up doing a full hour with Moriah. I think we could have kept going if we wanted. She's done so much in her career already. And also she just has so much wisdom and really interesting to chat with. Definitely much more wise than I was at that age, and the future is very bright for her and her band Plush. Check out the debut album. It's available on streaming, and also you can order it on purple vinyl if you prefer that. Follow the band on social media or check their website for show dates. I may have to make a road trip to see them. I think they're going to be really good live. And thank you for supporting our guests on the show. Without them, we don't have a show. And thank you to all who have supported my show. Our YouTube channel has been doing very well the last month. So thank you to all who have watched videos on there, liked them or shared them, and subscribed to my channel. Subscribers keep going up. I really appreciate that. It's cool to see something grow, and I'm very grateful. So thank you all for listening. Have a great day and shoot for the moon.